We have our next speaker, Marty Slighte, who is the outgoing member from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee, Advisory Committee. Hi, Marty.
Thank you, Mayor Payne, council members. I wanted to take a moment not to deter from the concerns of the rest of my community, but I wanted to say that as we recognize Transgender Day of Visibility, I happen to be going through the majority of my visible and significant transformation during my time in transition, during my time serving the city of Olympia on the BPAC. I want to be absolutely clear here. I have never, not in 60 years of my life, been so proud to be born an Olympian. Not once did I experience even the hint of anything less than full and complete support every time I interacted with a member of the City of Olympia staff. And that needs to be said. What also needs to be said is I appreciate the opportunity to serve on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. During my time on the BPAC, I helped welcome a new advisor, Max, to our committee. I was serving as vice chair, only to have our elected chair, Robert Vanderpool, leave our committee at a late hour when appointed to serve on the city council. I chose not to step into his term as chair because I had my own business I was taking care of, and I was glad to serve as vice chair under Tom Dillon, who I believe was an excellent choice by the full committee. When I applied to the BPAC, my reasons were personal. Bad sidewalks and poor pedestrian infrastructure puts my life at risk. My frustration is that I don't feel our streets are meaningfully safer than they were 3 years ago. I've learned that the BPAC in its present form lacks any mechanism to influence maintenance schedules or city safety. In a moment of pure irony, on June 30th, 2024, returning from a Pride event downtown, I was nearly killed crossing 5th and Washington, the exact intersection where the paint is there celebrating trans people. I was there to photograph the sidewalk or crosswalk. A combination of poor driver visibility and an outdated curb cut that launches disabled people into the center of intersections caused that accident, that caused that almost accident. The video went viral, but the intersection remains as dangerous today as it was then. We need safer streets for all pedestrians and cyclists. Olympia is not just for automobile owners. More and more people are finding vehicle ownership beyond their means, especially in an area where we have free public transit. This is multiplied for disabled people, for whom representation in Olympia is severely lacking. I ultimately moved from the west side rather than wait for Harrison Avenue sidewalks to become safe to roll on. In my new neighborhood, Briggs Village came with its own broken pedestrian promises. We need pedestrian promises kept. We also need disability representation in every facet of city government. Disability rates have risen since 2020, from roughly 1 in 5 to 1 in 4 people in our country. That is a substantial portion of our community without adequate representation. When I applied to this committee, it was my fellow disabled community members that I most wanted to represent. I hope that more disabled residents apply to serve on all of Olympia's advisory committees. Thank you again for giving me the opportunity to serve.
Let's give a round of applause and an ovation to all of our members who served on our advisory committee. Thank you all so much. All right, so before we present you with the proclamations that we have, are there any comments from council? Councilmember Vanderpool.
Marty, thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time to point out an issue that is dear to me. I appreciate every bit of you serving and continuing to serve and being a part of advisory at Intercity Transit and continuing to do and push for the things that we need in our community. Um, as a council member, it's not just what we do, it's the community need and the demand behind that, right? It's the need to make those changes. Sometimes it's time consuming, sometimes it's expensive, but we need to get that done because our community needs to be accessible. And I appreciate every bit of you bringing that perspective. Every time I talk to people about accessibility in the community, about transportation, cycling, walking, I always put rolling in there because you always bring that up. And even though I was on BPAC for only a year, I will remember that forever as an important need because that is the gold standard from which we need to do things. Because if people can roll, they can walk, and they can cycle, and they can use public transportation. Thank you so much.
Yes, Councilmember Gilman.
I just want to appreciate in this, after hearing two really amazing stories, I just want to appreciate that we have 90 community members who step up to put together 14 boards, advisory committees, and commissions that bring us voices like Marty just did, and people who show up in spite of a samurai sword accident to give us a presentation. That's a lot. And I thank you to everybody who's outgoing. And as we said a moment ago in our proclamation, congratulations to the folks coming on. So I just appreciate it.
Thank you. Additional comments? All right. All right. Well, I'm hearing in my ear gratitude. So I'll just say on behalf of the Olympia City Council that obviously we are so thankful for your service. We know that it's thankless because it's thankless for us at times, right? And a lot of the times we're the faces, but you're doing a lot of the work behind the scenes, and people don't know that you're doing that work. And it's so important that you're here to do it regardless. I encourage you to go back. I often find myself thinking about what have I done so far in my time on council. I encourage you to go back and take a look at each time there was a action that we've taken that said the Arts Commission recommends or the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee recommends. That's also a part of your legacy and the work that you've done as well on advising this body. We don't do it alone. And I know that our process for engaging our advisory board members could be better. We talk about this all the time as council members, and we're slowly but surely getting there with trying to improve it. And I know that, frankly, some of you have felt that there hasn't been very much engagement. So I'm just going to state that for what it is. But we are working on improving that for the future and the people who will serve here at the city. I'm also hearing, Marty, specifically, you called it out about having more influence. And that's something we talk about as well in terms of the work that you all do and how that can play a better role in ultimately the decisions that this body makes. And so I encourage you to please, especially if it was a positive experience, go out into the community and tell people about what you've experienced as an advisory board member here for the city, and encourage them to get involved and continue to serve this community, because it all doesn't happen, just by accident. There are people behind it who are helping make it happen, and those people are you. So thank you for everything that you've done. I do have quite a few copies of this proclamation here. So if you would like, you are welcome to come up and receive it and take a photo. And thank you so much for your service. Anyone who's an outgoing member, yes, please make your way up.